Okay, you ready? This is the last step. So at this point you've pieced your quilt top together. You have put it together with batting and backing, and you've quilted it somehow, whether it be on your domestic machine or at a long armor, or you did it by hand, or you tied it. Either way, it's now ready to be bound. So today what we're going to learn is how to figure out how many strips you need to bind your quilt, how much fabric you need, how to put the strips together, and then how to actually put it onto the quilt. Once that's done, you get to enjoy your quilt. So stick around. Alright, here's the first step. The first step is to determine how many strips you need for your quilt, and then how much fabric you'll need to create those strips. So the first thing you want to do is take your quilt top and measure all four sides. In this case, our class quilt was 49 inches square, so I took 49 plus 49 plus 49 plus 49, and it added it up to get 196. I'm going to take that 196, I'm going to add 15 inches to it. This additional 15 inches is used for the mitered corners that we're going to do as we put the binding on the quilt. So that gives us 211 inches. I'm going to take that 211 inches and I'm going to divide it by your width of fabric minus 2 inches. And I subtract the 2 inches to accommodate for the salvage, because I don't want to include the salvage in my binding. So if my width of fabric is 44, I subtract 2 inches from it, and it gives me 42. If you're using a different width of fabric, you still want to accommodate for the salvage and subtract 2 inches. So if you're using fabric that's 108, you should divide by 106. So I'm going to divide 42 into 2 and 11. I'm going to get 5.02. And I'm going to round that up to the next largest whole number, which is 6. I'm going to take the 6, I'm going to add 1 to it, and that's going to determine that I need 7 strips. So 7 strips should go all the way around my quilt to create my binding. Now that I know I need 7 strips, I need to determine how much fabric I actually need. In this case, I'm going to take 7, which is the number of strips, multiply it by 2.5, and that gives me 17.5 inches of fabric by width of fabric. Now the reason why I'm using 2.5 is because I make my binding strips 2.5 inches wide. Some people make them 2.25. Some people like them 3 inches. Whatever that number is that you're comfortable with, that's what you'll multiply by the number of strips to figure out how much fabric you actually need. So now we know we need 7 strips at 2.5 inches each, and I need a total of 17.5 inches to get those 7 strips at 2.5 inches. So go ahead and cut your strips, and then the next lesson I'll show you how to actually put the strips together. Alright, once you have your 2.5 inch strips cut, you're going to go over to your sewing machine and you're going to put one with the right sides facing up, one with the right sides facing down, and you're going to put them at an angle, just like I have here. Right sides up, right sides down. Then you're going to draw a line from corner to corner, so it's top left hand corner to bottom right hand corner. Put it in your machine and stitch right on that line, and this will make you a nice mitered corner. And when you fold it back, you have a nice mitered corner. And then when you're done, you're going to go over and you're going to cut 1/4 inch to get rid of the excess fabric. So let me show you that one more time. 2.5 inch strips, one with the right side up, one with the right sides down, and you're going to place them at an angle. You're going to take a ruler. We're going to draw a line from corner to corner. and we're going to sew right on that line. Oops. When you're done, you're going to have a nice mitered piece of two strips nice and mitered. And you're going to go over to your cutting board, and once you're all done with all your strips, and you're just going to cut 1/4 of an inch right here and press. Okay, the next step is once you've got them all together and you've trimmed off your pieces, you need to now prepare the binding for the quilt. So the first thing you want to do is you want to right sides down and fold it in half on the ironing board so that the wrong sides are together, and press. And that's it. So remember, it's wrong sides together and you press. And you do that for the whole strip set that you've created. Alright, once you have it sewn in half and it's all together, you're going to take the raw edge and line it up with the raw edge of your quilt. Come down about halfway on one side, and when you start sewing, you're going to leave about an 8 to 10 inch tail. So here's my 8 to 10 inch tail. I'm going to start sewing right here, and I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch. And I have on my 1/4 inch presser foot to keep me at 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to sew all the way till I get to the end of the quilt, till I get to the corner, and then at that point I'll show you what to do. Alright, I'm approaching the corner, and I'm going to stop about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. I'm going to do a little bit of back stitch, and then I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to take the whole quilt, and I'm going to turn it. Oops. I'm going to cut all the threads, not just some of them. I'm going to turn the quilt, and I'm going to do a 45-inch angle with the binding, just like this, and then bring it down. Go back in about 1/4 of an inch and start sewing. Okay, I'm on the last side, and I've already made my corner, and now I'm going to stitch along here, but I'm going to stop about, I don't know, maybe 12 inches away from where I started. And when you get there, do a little back stitch. And take it out. So now what you need to do is you need to trim the binding. So you have this piece and this piece from what you did before. Okay, so here's my pieces. This is from the top, and this is where I started. So you can see they're probably around 12 inches apart. I'm going to take the where I started and lay it down flat. And I have a lot of excess here. I'm just going to trim it, but trim it far enough away so that you're well overlapped. But you want to trim it so you can just kind of get it out of your way. Then what you're going to do is you're going to measure from where the top of the bottom piece is, right here, to the top piece. And you're going to measure 2.5 inches, and the 2.5 inches is what the width of your strip was to begin with. So if you used a 3-inch width strip, you're going to measure 3 inches. But I'm going to measure 2.5, so you can see here's my start right here. It's 2.5 right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to back it off just a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to draw a line. And I'm going to cut. And then what I'm going to do is do this just like I was doing a mitered corner. So I'm going to take the bottom piece, lie it down flat with the right sides up, the top piece, and I'm going to open it up and right sides down and lay them on top of each other, just like you were going to do the mitered corner for your strips. And at this point, I would put a pin to stabilize it. And you're just putting it into the 2 pieces, not through the whole quilt. You're going to draw your, oops, do it a little bit better than that. You can see it's a little fiddly to do. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to draw my line that goes from corner to corner. Just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew right on that line, but I'm only going to sew these 2 pieces. I'm not going to sew it through the quilt. All right, here we go. Then you're going to open it up and you're going to see, let's take the pin out, that it's going to be exactly a mitered corner and it's going to fit exactly the way you want. You're going to trim this and then you're going to finger press the seam open. Okay, once that's done, the next thing you're going to do is just take a couple of wonder clips, clip them in to hold it down. Do a few here. And then sew from the top to the bottom and cover your seam. And that's it. And once we're done with this, I'll take you over to the ironing board.